And if you look at China and the whole neighborhood here, just the past few weeks, look at how the tensions between China and Taiwan have come down so sharply. Look at the moves in the Sino-Japanese relationships. You have some master geopolitical players in Beijing, right, who just know how to handle these things so beautifully. And one of the most delicious moments I had when I spoke of my book was at the Council on Foreign Relations, in a room as packed as this, or maybe even more packed than this, when I turned to the American audience and I said, if you want to get good geopolitical discussions, come to the Council on Foreign Relations. If you want good geopolitical performance, go to Beijing. Don't waste your time at the Council on Foreign Relations. But that's an idea that is inconceivable. And all you have to do, basically, is go and read the reviews of my book on www.mahbubani.net. And it's a very clear, there's a fundamental resistance to the idea that Asians can get it right. And they will still talk about old conflicts, old problems, when in fact the trend is in the opposite direction. Now the fourth part, and this I suppose I'm entering into the most provocative grounds. Is the West part of the problem or part of the solution? And the simple answer is that it is both. It is very much a part of the solution because the West has done the world an enormous favor by creating a benign world order. But at the same time, the tragedy and the paradox is that the West, which used to be, as I mentioned earlier, geopolitically competent in its handling of many issues, in response to new global challenges, is just becoming incredibly incompetent. In the book, I give 4 examples. Look at the relations between the West and the Islamic world. If you really wanted a plan to aggravate tensions within the West and the Islamic world, carry out Western policies on the Middle East, carry out Western policies in terms of invading Iraq, carry out Western policies in Afghanistan, and you can see that the West just doesn't understand how to deal with the Islamic world. Completely flawed policies. You look at the biggest danger we face today, the collapse of the Doha round. Why? A lack of confidence in the West that growing free trade is good for them. Indeed, the political reaction against free trade is now so powerful in the Western countries. Third, you look at global warming and the West's refusal to accept the fact that they have responsible for the stock of greenhouse gas emissions that they have to take care of. And of course, I'll just mention in passing again the Non-Proliferation Treaty and how it's dying. But let me come to the last part in the 2 minutes that I have left. It is there a solution? And here, the really big message of my book that hasn't come through is that at the end of the day, I'm an optimist. The book actually has a happy ending, not an unhappy ending. The happy ending is that, yes, we can work together. Frankly, the new Asian powers, as I say, do not want to dominate the West. They want to replicate the West. And some of the most brilliant speeches on the vision that Asia has for the future have been given by the speeches by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. And I can tell you, I was astonished. I look at the speech and I say, this is brilliant. It explains how we can work together in the new global order if we learn to share power and compromise, right? But on the day when the speech appears, right, you go and Google that day. I was in Delhi when that happened. Tony Blair happened to give a speech in the Middle East. There have been hundreds of Western speeches on the Middle East with no progress. But the Tony Blair speech gets global coverage in the media, and the Manmohan Singh speech, which describes the way forward of the 21st century, gets no coverage at all because the Western media just dominates what goes out in the world, and therefore you get a very distorted perspective of what's really happening in the world. And I think what I've tried to do in my book quite simply is to say, You need to balance the distorted perspective you get in the Western media, and this is why you need to have a different point of view being expressed. Thank you very much.